Every second of your life, your cells are using oxygen to produce the energy they need to survive. But have you ever wondered how oxygen actually travels from the air you breathe all the way to the cells in your body? The answer involves your lungs, your blood, your heart, and millions of specialized proteins inside your red blood cells. Today, we're going to follow one oxygen molecule on its incredible journey through the human body. Every time you inhale, oxygen enters your lungs. But your lungs aren't the final destination. The oxygen needs to somehow travel through your bloodstream and reach trillions of cells throughout your body. So how does this happen? The process begins deep inside your lungs, where oxygen crosses from the air you breathe into your blood. From there, a special protein called hemoglobin takes over. Hemoglobin binds oxygen inside your red blood cells and helps transport it through your entire body. Before we follow oxygen through the bloodstream, we need to understand why your cells need it in the first place. Your cells require energy to perform almost everything they do. They need energy to move, grow, repair themselves, communicate, and maintain normal function. Much of this energy is produced through a process called cellular respiration, which occurs mainly inside structures like mitochondria. Oxygen plays a critical role at the end of this process, allowing cells to efficiently produce ATP, the main energy currency of the cell. Without enough oxygen, cells cannot produce energy efficiently and organs begin to malfunction. The journey begins when you inhale. Air enters through your nose or mouth and travels down your trachea, also known as your windpipe. The trachea divides into two main bronchi, which carry air into each lung. These branches continue dividing into smaller and smaller tubes called bronchioles. Eventually, the air reaches tiny balloon-like structures called alveoli, and this is where the most important exchange begins. Your lungs contain hundreds of millions of air sacs called alveoli. Each alveolus is surrounded by a network of extremely small blood vessels called capillaries. The walls between the air inside the alveoli and the blood inside these capillaries are incredibly thin. This creates the perfect environment for gas exchange. Oxygen moves from the air inside the alveoli into the bloodstream, while carbon dioxide moves in the opposite direction, from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. So how does oxygen actually cross from the lungs into the blood? The answer is diffusion. After you inhale, the concentration of oxygen is higher inside the alveoli than in the blood arriving from the body. Because molecules naturally move from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration, oxygen moves across the thin alveolar wall and into the capillaries. This process does not require the cell to use any energy. At the same time, carbon dioxide moves in the opposite direction and enters the alveoli so you can breathe it out. Once oxygen enters the blood, it encounters one of the most important proteins in the human body, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is found inside red blood cells. Each hemoglobin molecule contains 4 heme groups, and each heme group contains an iron atom that can bind one oxygen molecule. That means a single hemoglobin molecule can carry up to 4 oxygen molecules. This ability allows red blood cells to transport enormous amounts of oxygen throughout the body. Oxygen is transported in your blood in 2 main ways. A very small amount dissolves directly in the plasma, the liquid portion of your blood, but the vast majority, approximately 98 to 99%, is transported bound to hemoglobin. This is extremely important because oxygen does not dissolve very well in water-based fluids like plasma. Hemoglobin solves this problem by allowing your blood to carry much more oxygen than plasma could transport on its own. After oxygen enters the bloodstream and binds to hemoglobin, the oxygen-rich blood travels through the pulmonary veins. These veins carry the blood from the lungs back to the heart. The blood enters the left atrium and then moves into the left ventricle. The left ventricle has a thick muscular wall because it needs to generate enough pressure to pump oxygen-rich blood throughout the entire body. Now the oxygen is ready for its next major journey. When the left ventricle contracts, it pushes oxygen-rich blood into the aorta. The aorta is the largest artery in the body. From there, the blood travels through progressively smaller arteries and eventually reaches tiny vessels called capillaries. These capillaries are where oxygen finally leaves the bloodstream and enters the tissues. When oxygen-rich blood reaches the capillaries surrounding your tissues, the conditions change. The concentration of oxygen is now higher in the blood than in the surrounding tissue. This creates another concentration gradient. Oxygen is released from hemoglobin and diffuses out of the capillaries and into the surrounding tissues. From there, it enters individual cells. The oxygen has finally reached its destination. One of the amazing features of hemoglobin is that it doesn't hold onto oxygen permanently. The bond between oxygen and hemoglobin is reversible. In the lungs, where oxygen levels are high, hemoglobin readily binds oxygen. But when the blood reaches tissues where oxygen levels are lower, hemoglobin releases it. Active tissues can receive even more oxygen because they produce conditions that encourage oxygen unloading. This allows your body to deliver more oxygen exactly where it is needed. Scientists use something called the oxygen-hemoglobin dissociation curve to describe how hemoglobin binds and releases oxygen. The curve has an S-shaped or sigmoid appearance. In the lungs, where oxygen pressure is high, hemoglobin becomes highly saturated with oxygen. In the tissues where oxygen pressure is lower, hemoglobin releases more oxygen. This system allows hemoglobin to load oxygen efficiently in the lungs while still being able to unload it where the body needs it. This becomes especially important during exercises. When your muscles become active, they require much more energy. To produce that energy, their demand for oxygen increases. Your body responds by increasing blood flow to active muscles and encouraging hemoglobin to release more oxygen. Active tissues also become warmer and produce more carbon dioxide and acids, which help promote oxygen unloading. This means your body can deliver more oxygen precisely when and where it is needed. But oxygen transport is only half of the story. As cells use oxygen to produce energy, they generate carbon dioxide as waste product. Carbon dioxide enters the bloodstream and travels back towards the lungs. Most carbon dioxide is transported in the blood in the form of bicarbonate ions. Eventually, it reaches the lungs where it is converted back into carbon dioxide and exhaled. So every breath you take brings in oxygen and helps remove the carbon dioxide your cells produce. Let's follow our oxygen molecule one final time. You inhale it into your lungs, it reaches an alveolus and diffuses across the alveolar capillary membrane. It enters a red blood cell and binds to hemoglobin. The blood travels through the pulmonary veins to the left side of the heart. The heart pumps it through the aorta and into the systemic circulation. Eventually, it reaches a capillary near a body cell. Hemoglobin releases the oxygen, and the oxygen diffuses into the cell. There, it helps power cellular respiration and ATP production. A journey that began with a single breath has now provided energy for your body to function. But what happens when this system doesn't work properly? If the blood doesn't contain enough oxygen, this can lead to hypoxemia. If tissues don't receive enough oxygen, the condition is called hypoxia. This can happen for many reasons. Lung diseases can prevent oxygen from entering the blood. Anemia can reduce the amount of hemoglobin available to carry oxygen, and problems with the heart or circulation can prevent oxygen-rich blood from reaching tissues effectively. Because every organ depends on oxygen, severe oxygen deprivation can quickly become life-threatening. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed learning about how oxygen travels through your body, make sure to subscribe for more videos explaining the science and medicine behind the human body. And remember, every breath you take begins a journey that keeps nearly every cell in your body alive. I'll see you in the next video.